أعوذ بالله من الشيطان الرجيم بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله رب العالمين وبه نستعين والصلاة والسلام على أشرف الأنبياء والمرسلين سيدنا ونبينا بالقاسم محمد وعلى إترة الطيبين الطاهرين المعصومين اللهم صل على محمد وعلى محمد أما بعد السلام عليكم ورحمة الله وبركاته. This is the second of our Back to Basic talks in remembrance of Imam Jaffer Sadiq al-Islam, whose Shahada day is coming up. And we have said that we are known as the Jafri school of faith, school of thought, because of the fact that our fiqh is derived from a lot of the hadith that we have from Imam Jaffer Sadiq al-Islam. And so in order to honor him on his Shahada day, we want to sort of be able to have made sure that we've looked at our Salah and the prerequisites of Salah and ensure that we're doing them correctly, inshallah. So yesterday we talked about Wudhu, and today we're looking at Jabira Wudhu. Now, Jabira is something that refers to anything that is on an injury. So it could be any sort of bandage, any sort of medication. So for example, a splint, a plaster, a bandage of some sort of medication. And Jabira Wudhu literally means Wudhu, which is not reaching the skin because of the jabira, the bandage that's on the wound itself, or because of some sort of medication that's on the wound. So why it's called Jabira Wudhu is because usually Wudhu you have to make sure that there is no obstruction to the Wudhu and it reaches all parts of the skin that has to be washed or wiped. Here I don't have to ensure that it reaches the skin, and this is why it's called Jabira Wudhu. So when I'm referring to Jabira, every time you hear the word Jabira, think to your mind bandage. It could be anything that covers the injury. So it could be a bandage, a plaster, a cast, medication. But if I can ask you to think bandage every time I say Jabira, it might make it a little bit easier to just follow it through, inshallah. I'm going to break it up and make it really, really simple because Jabira Wudhu is really, really simple. Okay, so let's begin. If I have some sort of injury which is unbandaged, so it doesn't have a Jabira on it at all, and water is not harmful to it, then obviously I would do Wudhu. Easy, simple, yeah. If I have an unbandaged wound of some sort and water is harmful for it, so for example, maybe it's some sort of blister or a burn or something and I can't put water on it, then the requirement is to do tayammum. If I have an unbandaged fracture of some sort, then I would have to do tayammum on that, okay? So that's if it's unbandaged. Now, if it is bandaged, so it has a jabira on it, and I can remove that jabira so it becomes unbandaged and water is not harmful to it, then I would do Wudhu. If I cannot remove that bandage, but so I can't remove the jabira, okay, and water is not harmful to it then I would do what is called Jabira Wudhu. Now, Jabira Wudhu is like normal Wudhu, but I'm not getting water underneath the Jabira. Okay, so what I will do is I will pour the water. So I would do exactly the same as I would do normally. So I would do the niyyah, I would wash my face, and then I would wash my right arm, and then I would wash my left arm, and then the wiping of the head and the foot. Now, wherever the Jabira, so in this case, my Jabira is on my left arm. So I've washed my face, I've washed my right arm, and now I'm about to wash my left arm. So I would get the water and I will pour it everywhere. Okay. And I will make sure that I'm washing all aspects and I'm wiping my wet hand over the jabira. I don't have to soak the jabira. I don't have to get underneath the jabira, unless obviously it is possible to remove the jabira or the jabira is loose enough for the water to get underneath and it's not harmful to the wound. But otherwise, I'm just literally just wiping the whole area, ensuring that there is no obstructions. If I've got any rings, bracelets, watches, and things like that, I'm taking them off. And I would do that normally. Now, if the jabira itself is najis, so imagine that this is najis, okay, but water is not harmful for it. But obviously, if I run water on it, then I'm spreading the najasat. So at that point, what I'm expected to do is I get a cloth of some sort, I cover the jabira, okay, so I'm not spreading the najasat, and here I'm going to wash all areas, and I'm going to run a wet hand over the cloth. Now, because I'm running it over the cloth and the cloth is thick enough for the water of my wet hand not to get to the jabira itself, so I'm not actually getting the najasat from the jabira onto my hands. And that way, then I'm just doing Jabira Wudhu with a cloth on top. If I'm in a position where I have a Jabira and water is harmful for it, then again, what I'm expected to do is do it with a cloth. If water is harmful to it, then I can't make it wet, but I can put a cloth on it and do exactly the same, where I'm washing the rest of the areas perfectly and I'm running a wet hand over a cloth over the Jabira, so I'm not making the Jabira wet because it is harmful to make it wet for whatever reason. If I have a Jabira which covers most of a specific wudu area. So for example, say if I have a plaster, which is all the way from my elbow down to my wrist or to my hand. My fingers are uncovered, but most of that right hand is covered with a plaster, then I am still expected to do Jabira wudu. So I would wash my face, I would make sure that I run my wet hand over the plaster and make sure that I get in between the fingers and everything. And then I would do the same with my left hand. And if I can't get water on with my right hand to pour onto my left hand, I can actually just run my left hand underneath the tap and then just wipe it. And if I'm not able to wipe it, then just make sure that I run it underneath the tap so that it actually gets on all aspects of the hand running downwards. Okay, so that is if it's only in one part of the wudu area. If the Jabira covers most of the wudu area, so say for example, I have a plaster on my arm, I have my head bandaged up, I have a plaster on my foot. So most of the wudu area, maybe I even have the Jabira on my face as well. So most of the wudu area is covered with Jabira. Then when I do wudu, even if it's Jabira wudu, it is not really it's not really considered as wudu because most of the areas are covered. So therefore, at that time, the requirement is to do tayammum and Jabira wudu as an obligatory precaution. And as I said, an obligatory precaution is that Ayatollah Sistani himself says that you should do both, but we have the option to look at the next most knowledgeable marja to see what his viewpoint is. Whenever I'm in doubt and I don't know whether I should be doing tayammum or Jabira wudu, Ayatollah Sistani says it is an obligatory precaution to do both. So do tayammum and Jabira wudu. And that way then you're covered. So when is it that we actually only do tayammum? Okay, so tayammum is done again, like I said, when we have an unbandaged fracture, when we don't have a wound of any sort, but water is harmful. So if I, for whatever reason, I can't have water on my skin, then I am expected to do tayammum. If the Jabira itself is najis, I can't purify it, I can't place a cloth on top of it for whatever reason, then I would be expected to do tayammum because if I actually run a wet hand over the Jabira, then the najasat would spread. If I have something on any area of the wudu area which is not a Jabira, but it's something else, so it may be, for example, Tipex, paint, or something like that, and it is harmful for me to remove it, I'm not able to remove it, I don't have enough time to remove it, then at that time I'm expected to do tayammum. Now, if that thing that is stuck is on the tayammum part, so if it's on the forehead or if it's on the hands, then I'm expected to do wudu as well as tayammum. If my eyelashes are stuck together because of some sort of illness in the eye, then the requirement is tayammum. Tomorrow, inshallah, we will look at how we will perform, what is the requirement for tayammum and how we should perform tayammum and on what things tayammum can be done, inshallah. Wassalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.